So I was reading somewhere, and it said it normally takes about doing 100 episodes of your podcast before you get into the groove.
Okay. Where are we at?
I haven't looked up the total number, but thinking that we've been doing it for basically 6 months roughly, and a little over the end of March would have been 6 months. So, and doing 2 a week roughly. So we should be over the halfway mark to there, being that it's now April. And so we should be over 50, but like probably not too far over 50. So
That's counting 2 every time.
yeah, well, I'm estimating that we do 2 a week.
Yeah.
And then it's been about, because in a year, if there's 52 weeks in a year, and you do 2 a week, then you'd be ahead of 100 about at the year mark roughly.
True.
So, so 6 months should be about a little over the 50 mark.
Okay. So, sorry guys.
Guys, it still sucks, but give us another 6 months, and then we'll be hitting our groove.
Yeah. Then we'll get all the views.
Hey, welcome back to Screen Time. At least you aren't Catholic. I'm your host, Josh, and I have with me my co-host, Jered.
War is inevitable.
Yes. Was that a shooter that said that? Yes. I think so.
Yeah, like at the beginning. Pretty early on.
Yeah. So today, the finale of Shogun is what we're discussing. And boy, was it a finale. But before we talk about that, a little bit of what we've been watching, or just, discussing a little bit of tidbits here and there. So what have you been watching?
I have 2 that I'm going to revisit.
Oh.
And then 1 new one.
Okay.
So I'll start with the 2 that I talked about when they first started, because I'm further in them now. So the first one is, I want to talk about Sugar again. That's on Apple.
So I still have not checked this out, but it's on my list to check out. Okay. It was a toss-up. I am going to talk about the thing. It was a toss-up between that and this other. And, I ended up going the other.
All right, cool.
So, but I'll talk about it in a minute.
Cool. Okay. I didn't think I would actually but I'm all caught up on it. And I mean, I liked it, but it's just, it's like we were talking about earlier. Like I always, especially with Apple, I check out all the new shows, but then a lot of times I'll only get like an episode in, and then, there is a lot. Yeah.
Too many.
There is. Yeah. But they're doing good work. They're one of the best.
They're doing the Lord's work.
They are. Yeah. They're HBO's passing the torch to them.
Or they stole it, one or the other.
Well, yeah.
Or really HBO dropped the ball and they picked it up.
Yes, that is more accurate.
They fumbled it and Apple picked it up.
Yep. Well, didn't they steal their people too?
So, not steal. The guy got to let go, and then like he got to let go first.
Okay, I thought they just were like, hey, we'll give you way more money.
We have all the money.
Yeah, they have it all.
Trucks, loads of money.
They really do. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I like this show anyway when it started, but like it even more now. I was mentioning before, I'm not going to spoil it at all, but it's definitely has a mystery element to it, which I really like, because I thought it was just a detective show and that was really it. But cool. What I like about, which is cool. And it seems like a pretty big thing that I don't know how far in they're going to kind of tease it out more, but what I like about it is obviously Colin Farrell. I already talked about him. He's just great and everything, but I like his character specifically in this show. Yeah. And he's really just good to everyone, no matter who they are.
Okay.
That might, now I'm thinking about it, that might play into the mystery a little bit too.
Okay.
Why he's that way. But I don't know.
Interesting.
That's just a theory. I could be way off. But what I like also is the style of this is it's like a perfect blend of like old Hollywood and like new Yeah, old Hollywood film noir. That's what I would put in my notes.
Okay.
And then like mixed with like more modern detective type
Cool.
show as well. And they blend it really well with not only the dialogue, but some of like the scene transitions and some of the things they do with I would say, I guess, like I don't know, I guess stuff you would do in post for um, some of the in between shots. What would you call those? What's the technical term for transition shots? I don't know.
Transitions. Yeah. Yeah.
I guess, yeah. So yeah, it's just cool. It's unique. I also, whenever you do check it out, 'cause I think I mentioned to you last time, definitely pay attention to which I know you will anyway. I don't know why I'm saying this. Pay attention to the camera work because they do some really interesting, not so much the shots themselves, but like, I think it's like the camera for like just two people talking. It's very unusual how they,
Framing.
yeah, and like the angle, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think it's cool though.
Okay. Cool. Well, like I said, it's definitely on the list to check out. So,
and I was again like I got pretty into it because I am caught up. I think there's 4 now. I think this is one that comes on Fridays.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So the 5th one will be
This Friday.
this Friday. Yeah. And then the other one I wanted to talk about again, and hopefully you've watched it. If not, you have to. Is Ripley.
I have not still.
Oh man, this one like I had to say something again about this to you specifically because I mean I think the story is really good anyway. But even if you don't like that, you will love it for the cinematography. It's insane what they're doing with it. I'm sure you've heard that already.
I have.
It's crazy. I heard it was good, but it exceeded my expectations. And again, it's black and white. So I don't want to say that's a limitation, but I guess in some ways, is it? I don't know. Or is it just a choice?
I don't know about limitation, but I feel like sometimes maybe it's the colors. The color can be distracting in the framing, so I think it makes you more aware, maybe, of like the composition and things because there's.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah.
No, yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and there's a lot of that. There's a lot of establishing shots. Yes, that even those are I'm like, man, I'm never bored, and it's a lot of him just like walking, and I'm like, this looks so good every time. It's just crazy. But yeah,
all right, I gotta.
Yeah, I that's why I'm like, I'm gonna bring it up again because I wasn't sure if you started it yet, and when I talked about it originally, it was just, yeah, but no, I mean everything about it though is good, but it is slow though, but it's like,
Okay.
I don't know. I still think the story's good. Again, it's based on, well, it was a movie, Talented Mr. Ripley, but
Based on a
originally
book.
book. Yeah. And it's Andrew Scott, and he is awesome as the character in this show.
All right.
Very good. What did I say about? Oh, the cinematographer I did look up. It was Paul Thomas Anderson's cinematographer.
Yes.
I'm not sure what else he has done, but yeah. And then the new one is The Sympathizer on Max.
Yes.
This is another one I was looking forward to because Robert Downey Jr. is in it.
Yes.
Like his multiple
Yes.
characters.
I've heard this. I haven't watched any of this either.
Yeah. Well, another reason why I wanted to check it out because I've only watched a little bit of it, so I've only seen one character of Robert Downey Jr. so far. And the rest of the cast I'm not really familiar with. But what I'd like about it is, so the director, I've talked about this director before, make sure I can say it correctly, Park Chan-wook, I believe, right? Yeah. I'll say you've heard of him, I'm sure. Yep. Yeah. Really great director. So he did, I believe this, actually I don't want to say if he directed all of them or not. I'm not sure. But yeah, he has a very specific style, but actually this show I think is a really cool mix of Tarantino and Scorsese. Kind of with the, I don't know, it's a lot of elements. It's like it reminded me of both of them in this, and
Very cool.
it's in the 70s also, which again I know, especially Tarantino loves the 70s, and he does a lot of that style in his movies. So the Scorsese thing, I don't know what it is about it. It's just maybe it's more the subject matter in this is kind of like, seems like a Scorsese thing, but anyway, it is really good. I just haven't watched much of it yet, but yeah, I wanted to mention. So you haven't checked this out either?
No, it's on my list too.
Okay, I know it's too much, but
too much.
That's it for me.
Cool. Well, for me, just a quick, watched a bunch more of Fallout. I think last time we talked earlier, I watched like 2 episodes, and
yeah, we were at the same spot,
and now I've watched like 5, I think, or something, and it's been a lot of fun. I think it holds up to someone who's not familiar with the games at all, and
cool.
It made me want to download Fallout Shelter. I didn't actually. I mean, I did. I looked at the app like to re-download it, and then I'm like, I don't have time to play this.
Yeah.
So I didn't. But like, it made me go that far. Because they did an content update to the.
Oh,
so
did
it includes the characters and things from the show.
Oh, cool.
So like, Anyway,
shout out to Bethesda. They're
local.
Yeah, local.
Maryland.
Yeah.
Woot woot.
Yeah. I've actually, well.
Yeah. Your friend of yours used to work there.
Well, he did. Yeah, but I was gonna say now. I think Dave Berger works there.
Does he?
I think so, or at least he was. I don't know if he still has. I haven't talked to him much.
There's another friend of yours that might work there now. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, he because I hadn't seen him in a long time, and then he was at my wedding, and I only got to talk to him briefly. But yeah, I think he's working at Bethesda, which is cool. So. So I wanted to ask, like, is it, because I'm not this far into it, so you're basically halfway.
More than halfway. There's only 8 episodes.
Oh yeah, there's only 8. Yeah,
not 10. Yeah.
So, are you liking it even more as it goes?
Yes.
Or is it okay? Awesome.
Yes.
I did hear it has a really good ending to this first season, which I'm excited about.
Well, I guess we'll talk more about that next week. Because spoilers, but we're gonna do like a one-off and just kind of cover the season as a whole.
I got a lot to watch for.
Yes, you got to catch up.
I'm like in the middle of episode 3, I think, right now. So yeah.
It gets easier because the episodes aren't as long after this.
Yeah, that first one was
like over an hour long, and
so it was an hour 15, I think, and so the rest of them are what?
There's some are like 40 minutes ish, like around that. I feel like.
Okay. I also just. I mean, I already said it last time we talked about Fallout, but I just love Walton Goggins.
Yes. Well, and what's her name? The girl, Ella Purnell.
Yeah, she's great too.
She's doing it. Like, I mean, I think I mentioned it before, but like now, and I just like really, really impressed with her.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, start watching Girls on the Bus on HBO Max.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not your kind of thing.
No, I tried.
Did you?
I did try. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I watched like 2 episodes. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's all right. Like it's
okay.
It's kind of, I mean, it's enjoyable. I like the politics and the I don't know, just the PR stuff that they're that kind of stuff like fascinates me.
I like the story of it. I didn't watch much of it, but the acting seemed not great. At least from the main girl.
Okay.
She was Supergirl.
Oh, okay.
That actress.
Never watched Supergirl.
I mean, Supergirl wasn't great, but that's the only thing I know her from. But she just seemed, I don't know, in this show.
It seemed fine to me, but sometimes things just rub people.
Yeah. There's some other good actors though in it, isn't there? Like some pretty recognizable.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And then So watched 3 episodes, I think, of Baby Reindeer. Have you heard of this?
No, I have not.
You haven't heard of this?
No.
Oh.
Baby Reindeer.
And now
Where is this streaming?
Netflix. This is on Netflix.
Okay.
And now I want to make sure I get the.
Never even heard of this.
So the writer and comedian Richard Gadd.
Okay.
It's loosely based on his real life events of him when he got started. But it's dramatized and not exactly beat for beat. It's so I'd heard that it's good, and I'd some different things, but also I heard that it's dark. And
I mean, a lot of stuff about comedians normally is.
And basically, not spoil it, this is not really, because this is kind of get this in the first episode, but he basically, when he's still an undiscovered comedian, he's working at a bar as well. And some lady, a little bit older lady, comes in and kind of seems like she was unhappy. And then he's like, "What can I get you?" And she's like, "I can't afford anything." And he's like, "Well, how about a tea on the house?" And he gives her just like a tea. Because it's in England, so like,
okay, yeah,
like a bar would have like tea. And then she like kind of grabs onto that, and then comes in a lot more, and they kind of become friends. And then she starts like kind of stalking him.
Oh,
and then it turns out she's a little crazy. So then he kind of goes through some steps to try to like remove her and avoid her. And he kind of fails at it, but eventually kind of starts to work his way, like kind of get her out of his life. And then he kind of keeps going back because it's like you can tell like he misses it, the attention, even though she's crazy. And so like that's kind of the premise, and like at least so far, I don't know I can't remember how many episodes there are, but just like it wasn't terrible, but also wasn't loving it. And then of course it's very kind of just dark and not super funny or anything. So I don't know if I watch anymore though. Like I think it was just kind of, I just was like, I need to watch something, and I was like, I'll start something. And then this one also people were telling me is really good, but also kind of like odd and dark. And so like if you don't like it, then you're probably not gonna like it. And then it's like so anyway, I started that, and then watched enough to be like, it's maybe not for me.
Why is it called Baby Reindeer? Is there an explanation?
Yes, it's one of the like nicknames or something she calls him. Like,
oh, all right,
I don't want to go into it more than that.
Okay.
So then the last little thing I wanted to touch on. I don't think we brought this up yet, but so Monarch was renewed for season 2.
I saw that. Yeah.
But then also they're going to create some spinoffs as well.
Oh.
So not just making season 2, but making some spinoff series.
Do we know like about?
They didn't specify. Okay. So interesting, but cool, just hopefully they maybe do a little bit better job writing season 2 than they did season 1.
Yes.
But
I mean, that's cool. Like getting more of it is awesome. It's just, as long as they do.
Production wise, and then even the acting wise.
Well, not all the acting.
Right. But then so for instance, what's her name? I can't remember her name. That's also in Shogun.
Right.
She's amazing in Shogun.
Oh, yeah.
So then it's like, well, then how much can we put on the actors that the other ones that are kind of like meh, if she was kind of meh in Monarch? Yeah,
but like Kurt Russell and Wyatt Russell were still good.
I know, but all I'm saying is the other two younger characters, they weren't. But I was put them all. I would group them all the same. Now the one lady I feel like was a little worse than the other.
Yeah.
The other.
Yeah.
But
she was.
Again.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I'm just gonna say is like maybe not fault the actors completely on the reason why it wasn't landing the performance.
Well, no, I mean you're definitely right about like it was obviously bad writing. or I don't know how much of that is directing as well. Although we talked about it, like it's a good director, at least for the beginning and the end. That guy.
Yeah.
He did WandaVision, right?
Yes.
Yeah, WandaVision and It's Always Sunny. So
Yeah.
which is awesome.
But then the other Apple TV thing is the For All Mankind got renewed, which is one thing is interesting that it got delayed. Them talking about it because the season kind of finished up a while ago.
Yeah.
So, but it got renewed for season 5. Season 5, right? Season 5.
Well, is that the longest running Apple show?
I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it is. But what's even more interesting, they're creating a spinoff. Did you see this?
No.
So they're doing a spinoff, and they're going back and showing the timeline I mean, they didn't specify this, but like the timeline of season 1, but from the Russian perspective.
That's a good idea.
And how they landed there first and won, so to speak. So, which is cool also because that gives an opportunity to bring back some of the older characters that either died of old age or died of other reasons.
Yeah.
And can bring them back.
Oh, man. Yeah. That's cool.
So anyway, that I was like,
that's a good idea.
That's neat thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the main show, is already so good. And
yeah, it is.
So yeah, so watch.
It's just weird that because obviously that was one of the first shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was one of the launch shows.
Yeah, it was that morning show and C. C, like they finished that up.
3 seasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. The morning show, is it
just because the actors they just couldn't?
Probably that's probably a big part of it. Like the scheduling of filming that. They have to like fit it in between other things that there's.
Yeah, because For All Mankind actually they were pretty on schedule, like almost every year or every 2 years for all the seasons.
Almost every year.
Almost every year. Yeah.
I guess there might have been like a
There's
gap
a little
year
break, yeah,
or like a year and a half between every season or something. But they've been pretty steady.
Yeah.
And I wonder the delay on the renewal might have been because maybe they were negotiating the spinoff stuff too. Like,
how many seasons can the main show go though?
I feel like 7 was a thing
that's right.
that he mentioned. Like he's like, I have it mapped out for 7 different, because it jumps like 10 years every time. It's like 7 different. Okay. And so, I mean, if they're at 5 at this point, I don't see why they wouldn't take it to the end. Maybe.
No, yeah, they will. Yeah, Apple's good at that. They're not like Netflix where they don't let people finish their story.
And then doing a spinoff. So yeah, so I was excited for that. Like I mean, Monarch thing kind of was like, oh, that's cool, but this I was like, ooh, this.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So Apple's trying to. So they're doing like their own.
Trying to create some franchises.
Mm-hmm, they're trying to do kind of their own universe of.
I guess. I mean, not quite, but
I feel like there's another show. Now that you're talking about these two, I feel like there was another Apple show I saw that was going to do something similar. Might just be a rumor right now. I'm trying to remember which show it was. I believe it was an Apple show, though.
Well, I mean, I would be surprised if Ted Lasso didn't do a spinoff.
I think that's what it was. I think they already were talking about that, or it was a rumor. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I assume it's a rumor because I haven't seen anything official. And
I think that's what it was. Because I mean, that makes sense. They're doing whatever their biggest. Actually, was it Foundation? I feel like I saw something about Foundation, which would be awesome because that would make sense because of all the books they could do different. Maybe that's what I saw something about. Because they're only going in a very specific. There's a lot of books that are like, before that time, or they could jump all around. It's the same thing like that they can do with Dune if they do it right. But I'm very worried about that TV show because it's gone through a lot of production problems, I've heard.
Yeah,
and it's like you got to be on the level of the quality of the movies, which is a very high bar.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So anyway, that was just a little
cool
news, exciting stuff that
See, Apple's doing the good guys, doing letting people finish their stories. and giving them even more.
Being friends to the creatives.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what the worst one of these all was the on Netflix was Glow. That was, I think, the worst decision because that show was huge. And
that was a good show.
Yeah, it was really good. And I believe they had, the creators had one more season. So they weren't even going to, and they still were like, nope. So that's what I mean, that kind of thing. Like Netflix does that a lot.
Yeah.
They're also the most expensive.
Which is monthly. Yeah.
Crazy. And they don't really have they do have some good stuff, but not a whole lot. They delayed The Witcher also.
Quantity over quality is what they are.
Yes.
They are
they really are.
They're like the McDonald's of
sort
of but they are also, now they're filming back to back. Season 4 and 5 are filming back to back.
Oh, is that why they did it?
And then that's it. Like they're basically like saying, hey, 5 seasons we're done. We're gonna film season 4 and 5 back to back, and then
it's, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch it.
Yeah, I know, because without Henry Cavill,
it's just, I know.
Yeah,
I gotta watch the new season. You said the last one was really good of his, the 3rd season.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah,
it was strong.
I'm at the end of season 2, but yeah. So at least he goes out.
Yeah, there's
pretty well.
Really cool action, slow-mo action shots.
Cool.
Long one takes action shots with like slow-mo. I don't know. Just there's a couple
awesome
things like that you're just like,
they kind of do like what they did in the very first episode, where they do like a really long fight scene. They do that in the 3rd season.
Yeah. It's just like randomly in the middle of an episode though. Like
nice.
Like there's a couple of them like that. Yeah. So.
Speaking of that, this is kind of the news section now that we're doing, but it reminded me of what Henry Cavill's doing now. Obviously, he's a huge Warhammer fan, so he's doing that, but he's doing Highlander. Did you see that?
Yes, I did see that.
With the director of John Wick.
I know.
So that is
as a film, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is a perfect match. We already know how good he is at fight scenes, Henry Cavill, but then you're getting like the master of that. So
director / choreographer.
Yeah.
That's where he started.
He started in that, but he was like one of the best, and then which makes sense if you watch John Wick, like nothing really tops it with.
I don't know, I gotta get something. I gotta see Henry Cavill on something besides Argyle, which was the last thing I saw him in, and that was
that was one you can't blame the actors either, though. There's a lot of good actors in that.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get into Shogun.
Yeah.
Episode 10.
We're just delaying it because we don't want the show to end.
Yeah.
That's what it is. We don't want Shogun to end.
The finale.
Yeah.
All right. This episode's called A Dream of a Dream. In the wake of a tragedy, Blackthorn finally considers the true nature of Toranaga's plan. So, quick overall thoughts on this final episode.
It was not what I expected at all, but it was, I don't want to say a perfect ending, but it was very, very strong. It was very focused and intimate, and I thought it was not going to be that way in this finale. And it was, most of the characters, I would say, had each one had at least one very good scene that centered around them too, which I thought was also done really well. What about you?
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with that. The stuff you just said, I agree that it was not what I expected. I guess we've been pretty much waiting for a big battle between Toranaga and Ishido since the middle, episode 5 or something, and just didn't happen, and then the end, and I was like, okay, it's got to happen here. No,
we get a little bit of a vision of
Yeah.
of the setup of it, but not.
Yeah. So, which is how they, I guess, tease things in between that and some of the early like couple shots from the cannon for that time they used the cannon on those few guys, and like there's like you can see how like you could cut a trailer to make it look like there was way more war and action in this show than there really was.
Yeah, for sure.
But if I was making the trailer, I probably would have, because you're like, hey, that sells. Let's get people to watch this thing. But yeah, but like you said, it was still a really strong ending, and really kind of, let's say, ties things up for each person, but it really gives each person a good moment. Like, and yeah, it was a good one. I don't know if it was my favorite episode by no means, but
no,
probably the 9 might have been my. I mean, I have to rewatch it all to really know.
Yeah,
but like, man, some of those scenes with Mariko and the tension there and the slot, like, shoo.
Yeah, I can't really say at this moment until I rewatch them all, like, what my favorite was. Yeah.
But anyway. So, let's get into what went down. So we open with a shot of Blackthorn when he's old in bed, his like grandkids.
I had no idea this was him.
You didn't know it was him?
No. I was like, who is this person? And then I looked at, after watching the episode, I was like looking around, I was Googling it, and I'm like, oh, it was him.
So you watched the whole episode and said
no, yeah, I didn't know it was him. It was just a random opening scene, and we didn't really go back to it too, except for one time, right?
Yeah,
later.
but like he came to, like, eventually he comes to, like, it was like a dream he was having when he was knocked
that's why
out.
I was like, I was wondering about that, but it didn't seem like it was something he was dreaming, at least to me. Like, I didn't interpret it that way. I thought it was something they were inserting to, like, I don't know, plan something for later.
It was almost like a flash forward of a potential future for him. To me, like, that was like, I was seeing it, like he was kind of dreaming as a possibility of like where things went.
Okay. Yeah, I just,
because in the because it's not obvious. Again, well, we're in spoilers, so because he's holding Mariko's cross in that scene,
right? Okay,
but then in the end, he dumps that in the water. So it's like, so it's not the true future, but it was like him like dreaming of the future or whatever, or kind of like hallucinating or whatever. Because it was theoretically, I guess, while he was knocked out from the explosion, he was having this like.
And to be clear, it was definitely my fault for not realizing it, because these are obviously great storytellers. So, but I did watch it pretty late last night. Maybe I just didn't pick up on it, but that does make sense though.
But yeah,
and I do remember him. Yeah, when he's out with Fuji, and then he drops the cross. In the water. Yeah.
So then from there back to present, and then he's holding Mariko, and I mean, she's dead, as we kind of predicted. I was, like I said last week, I was like, well, maybe she'll be like almost dead and be like last, like,
I would have hated that because of what happened. But
it is like the cliche thing to do.
I know it is, but like from what happened, I don't think she would have.
Yeah. But like you said, these are well, very talented storytellers, crafters, like all those things. And I think, and
I mean, obviously we have to give credit to the book too, obviously the author of the book, because it seems like this is pretty faithful. I did listen to a very short interview with the two creators, and I mean, they didn't say much about the whole process, but I think they said they were pretty faithful to the book. So, I mean, obviously, so that has a lot to do with it as well. But again, that is a skill that not everyone has, to really adapt something very well to the screen. And obviously they did that very well.
And at this point, we've talked about this, but really curious to see where some of these creative people go to do next, because obviously there's some talented people working on this project.
I finally looked up their names so I could see. It's Justin Marks and Rachel Kondo.
Mm-hmm.
So Rachel Kondo, I looked them both up. For her, I didn't really see anything I recognized for anything, whether it be writing or if she directed anything. And Justin Marks he hasn't really directed much either, but he wrote Top Gun Maverick, so that's a...
I think we looked it up back. Now
Did
that
we?
you say that, I think I remember
all right. I
seeing
couldn't remember
that.
if we did or not.
I feel like I remember seeing that, and
I'm like, that's a
maybe
good...
back when we covered the first.
Yeah, maybe we did do that. I don't know.
Episode or so, and
but that's like just that in itself. That's a really good. Great. But the other thing he did was the show Counterpart, which was a really good show on. Did you ever watch that?
I did not, but I heard good things.
Yeah.
What? Wait.
But that was really
Rachel Kondo. What's the guy's name that wrote the book?
I don't know. I mean, it's... I don't know. It always says at the beginning of the episode, like it shows it at the end of the title credits.
James Clavell.
Okay, yeah.
Never mind, because I was just thinking maybe that was his daughter or something.
Oh,
yeah, but no. Yeah. So then, after the Mariko scene, then we get the council, and the council is which is kind of the only time we see these, right? We don't come back to them anymore after this.
Yeah, I don't think so.
They're well, they basically are like, "Oh no, we're screwed
because of the earthquake."
Yeah,
I think it was a bad omen.
Bad omen, because they start talking about they should attack Tornaga.
Yeah, then, as soon as he starts to write. Yeah,
the earthquake.
That was funny.
And then he's like, "Doesn't matter, she do." And then
that's when he says the quote. I want to say,
yes,
yeah, that's
war was inevitable or whatever. Yep. And then he's like, "We have the heirs. We have the heirs banners, and we'll, and it's like, and because then what's the lady's name? The mom. Oh, trying to blank.
The mom.
Yeah, the mom of the
Ochiba.
Ochiba. Like she's kind of in the background, kind of like giving a look like maybe not.
Well, she already said last episode they were screwed.
Yeah.
Either way. So yeah. I wanted to mention, because I don't think we've really talked about it since probably first couple episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to shout out specifically the cinematography in this. Is just there was one shot in particular in this episode. I think it was pretty early on. It was a shot of, I couldn't make out who was in the water swimming, but it was this huge shot of the water. Then it pulls back into Yabashige, I think. And it just, that shot was like, this just looks so great. The it was like a very big, well, I know we did talk about the lenses thing, because that was something I was wondering about with you, because they kind of do that. Kind of looks like a vignette, not fisheye, but vignette, I guess. But anyway, but there's that shot, and then the other big one is obviously Toranaga and Yabashige scene, which we'll get into that.
Yeah,
but I thought that looked amazing.
Yeah, just the shots like them up on the cliff.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't remember somebody swimming.
Okay, it was definitely.
It might have been there. I'm not ringing a bell. Like, I remember
again though, it was late, and then I didn't get much sleep last night, so maybe I just thought maybe it looked like someone swimming. Maybe there wasn't anyone.
No, you're right. No, it was Toranaga.
That was him in there. Okay, I wasn't sure who it was.
Yeah,
that would make sense because
as they cut from the council. Well, no, I think it might have been right that, because it might have been after, because right after that we get Yabashige trying to. He's all like bummed out and depressed, and Ishido is talking to him, and then he's like kind of deranged, and he's like trying to catch the trout fish
Right.
or whatever, trout fish, some fish in the pond,
Mm-hmm.
and because then he said something about the tail of the fish from like creating the earthquake or something.
Yeah.
He's like, and he's definitely going a little crazy.
Yeah.
And you can see Ishido's concerned. I think that's right after the council, and then after that, then it goes to Toranaga like swimming in the lake.
Okay.
And just kind of like,
Yeah, it makes sense. It was definitely around then. Yeah.
and you're like, oh, he's learned how to swim from Blackthorn.
It's a good callback. Yeah.
He's just like looking over the lake, pondering his next, or I guess not really, because theoretically he probably already knew all his moves.
Yeah, he doesn't have.
He's just pondering, kind of waiting for all of the cards to fall or whatever, chips to fall. Whatever
he can't really do much else at that point.
He's just waiting.
Yeah.
Waiting for everything to play itself out. So then they let Blackthorn go, and he's escorted to the boat by the priest. That was an interesting conversation with them, kind of like having at least a little bit of respect for each other because they both cared about Mariko, but that's when he finds out that she bartered to make sure that he lived.
Right.
And so he has her to thank for even keeping the Catholics from killing him, the Portuguese from killing him. So then as they're coming back into the harbor of what was the town, the fishing village where he started, he sees that his ship is all destroyed and burned up.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
I don't remember the name
very
of the town.
upsetting for him, and because he's what he's wanted all along, just to get my ship and my men so I can get out of here. And so he not so happy that his ship is destroyed. And then their Ami greets them and kind of takes Yabushige's weapons and takes him hostage, or not hostage, prisoner, kind of, and escorts him to Toranaga. And then we have this nice long scene with the Toranaga and Yabushige. Well, no, not yet.
No, it's not yet. Yeah.
Not yet.
Yeah, that should be a little later.
Yeah, it's a little bit later. No, he just tries to plead for his, and then he's just like, well, I guess you need to die, and then he wants Blackthorn to be his second, and he refuses because he actually admits to setting up everything for Mariko to die. Well, he didn't think she was gonna die, but let the people in and stuff. He admits it. So then get a nice moment with Fuji and Blackthorn back at his place, and she says she's going to become a nun.
Well, he asks her about
the
boxes first, and then she's
but she's like, I don't have to serve you anymore. Peace out.
Well, at first he was
he
like,
wants her to stay.
Yeah, he was not happy about it first, but then he was like, okay.
I feel like it's more like he's just feeling very lonely from his true person that he wanted to be with, Mariko, being dead, and it's like, and this one other person he kind of has a connection with, because
I would say, I mean, this is the really only other woman that he really interacted with at all.
True.
Yeah.
Even though she was just kind of like running his household, like.
But they had this
moment where like the earthquake happened, and he kind of.
Yeah, they had a few moments where they.
Yeah, he kind of helped her, and like, because early on she didn't want to be with him at all, like didn't want to serve. And then then we get the Akiba sends the letter to Toranaga, and it gets delivered by his wives, and he's of course holding his new son, and yeah, of course we really don't know what it says, but
do we ever see what it says?
We don't see it, but he mentions it later.
Oh, right.
Because basically when she says, "Hey, I'm not going to back a Shido and with the heirs banners," so
right,
which means then the rest of the council will back down, and yeah, so
I still don't know if it's Akiba or Ochiba because I've said both now.
Yeah, I don't know. Akiba. I don't know. So then we get the scene with Toranaga and Yabashige up on the cliffs. The cliffs of insanity. That's all I was thinking.
Oh, man, I forgot about that.
There's a reference if anybody didn't know that.
Write in if you know it.
Yeah.
Or leave a comment.
Leave a comment. Tell us if you know what that's from.
Man, I need to see that again. I haven't seen that in a while.
Yeah.
This is one of the best scenes in the episode, I would say.
It was good.
Yeah.
Because it really, really reveals the layers of everything that Toranaga had been, like the strategy. That he's like doing 3D chess when everyone else is like not even know how to play chess.
He really is.
It's crazy.
Also, I like how Yabushige, like, he's like, ultimately, after he says all this to you, he's like, "Oh, you do want to be Shogun," and then
he's like, "You can admit it."
He's like, "I'll take it to my grave," and then he still won't tell him.
Yeah.
Or his response was great. He was like, "It doesn't matter because you're gonna be dead." But it was way more eloquent than that.
Yeah.
The way he said it, but he basically was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Why would I tell you you're gonna be dead in like a minute?"
But I think this. So in one way, the scene is just a bunch of exposition.
Yeah.
Of like kind of explaining his plan.
But it doesn't feel that way.
It does not. It was so well crafted and written and acted to where, it's just, and it helps that Yabushige is kind of a little bit of the idiot and just kind of, but it's so funny also like how even we saw this before, like when he was like predicted what Blackthorn and Yabushige would do when he was like, did they leave on the ship yet, or whatever, they decide to leave, and when he's talking to Mariko, and then she's like, yeah, they're getting ready to leave, and he's like, all right. Like, so he knew their character, they knew. But it was also interesting, this, like, he's like, hey, I could learn something from this guy. He kind of entertains me, like, he's kind of interesting and funny in a like entertaining way, because he's different than most of the people around, I guess. So he kept him around.
Yeah, I like that too. Yeah, him actually finally saying something, like anything about Blackthorn, because he really he's never even shown any emotion toward him at all this whole time.
Other than he obviously gave him.
Well, besides
gave him like the.
I guess I shouldn't say not at all. Yeah, you're right, because of
he gave him
the
some
title.
Respect. He gave him the title, and initially
he cracked a smile at least when he saved him from the earthquake and gave him the. So I remember that he did a little bit there, as well. Yeah,
but I think in general, as someone who, I would say, is someone who. What was it Yabushige asked him, like, how do you know?
Oh.
Yeah, that was a good line.
Yeah, it was. It's I don't follow the wind, I listen to the wind or something.
Like, I observe the wind or something.
Yeah,
like,
instead of,
he's like, how do you know where the wind's going to go? Or how do you
he says
predict? And he's like, I don't predict.
He says he
I just
listen. It's either listen or observe. Yeah, something like that.
Like it's almost like he just yeah. But yeah, but it's like interesting. Like I guess what I was gonna say was if everyone's so predictable, and then you throw this random guy in there that's like different and unexpected in some ways, at least, even though of course he was able to read him well enough to still steer him in the ways he wanted them to go.
Yep.
And benefit from him. I guess it was a little entertaining to be like, oh, this guy's a little different and kind of handles things a little differently. But yeah, but ultimately didn't give away his final answer to Shogun.
Nope.
And we really don't get it at
Nope.
all, if that was like his goal all along or not. So then we have Blackthorn wanting to meet with him. Toranaga. And he wants to apologize. And for the different things, not respecting him and not following along with things. And he's like, and then of course he gets to the part where he's basically like, I want to take responsibility for the ship. Mariko traded that with the Catholics, and that's why my ship's burned, and blah, 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 blah. And of course, we already know that that's not the case.
This was another good scene too.
Yeah. Also on the cliffs.
Also on the cliffs. Yep.
Yeah, but this was good. And then it was interesting because it's like what we kind of talked about last week's episode, where it finally clicked and he was ready to be her second and understand their culture. And it's like these things clicked for him.
Mm-hmm.
So then here you get the scene where he's kind of like almost using he's like, this is what they understand. And so then he's ready to commit seppuku.
There you go.
Seppuku.
Yep. Sudoku.
Yeah. Seppuku.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get change his mind. I think it was interesting. Toranaga stops him.
Well, it's also, I think, it's for more than one reason, because obviously he doesn't want him to kill himself in any way, but it's also the act of it, is basically disgraceful that this guy is doing
white
that.
Guy, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's the outsider, this barbarian,
right?
What they were calling it.
Yeah, the Anjin. Yep.
Yep.
So even if he didn't care if Blackthorn died, he still would have stopped him, because it's disrespectful him even doing that, apparently, with their culture. Yeah.
Yeah. But
because that's a great honor, right? In their
the way to die.
Yeah. Man, especially episode 8, that was
the ending
with yeah, right in front of Toranaga.
Yep.
Man, that's honestly one of the greatest moments of the whole season, I think. That's up there.
Yeah, it's
that scene.
There's so many good ones.
I know.
So many good,
it's hard to.
Almost every episode had one just phenomenal scene. Yeah. But anyway, so then he convinces her. He's like, "Don't do this. Rebuild the ship and build me a whole fleet." And it seems to give Blackthorn a new lease on life, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course they do stop torturing the village, which is so funny because he's torturing the village with because they're supposed to try and find the traitors, when ultimately he's the one that made him do it.
Oh yeah, he did.
He had it done. But and the other thing I thought was interesting, that finally that guy that was his spy all along in the village.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
he's actually
samurai.
And he spoke Portuguese, so he could translate and talk to Blackthorn.
Yeah, he said he's a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. And then we get the scene where Fuji. So Blackthorn says, "Hey, I have an idea." Blah blah blah, and they take a boat out into the water, into the bay, and she dumps the ashes there, and then And then he ends up dropping the necklace there too with the cross,
Right.
and she kind of helps him, and it's a really really sweet moment for them. But yeah, but that was like I was saying, I was like, oh, so that wasn't, because at first, up until that point, I was thinking the other thing was a flash forward of some kind,
Right.
and then but then when that happened, I was like, oh, that was just like his dream of, like, I guess what a future could be, like dreaming of a future.
Well, I mean, that makes sense with the title of the episode.
A dream
of a dream.
A dream of a dream.
Yeah.
So then we go to them trying to pull the ship out of the water.
Yeah, this was cool.
And one, I don't know how the heck that actually would work or not.
I don't know. I guess if you had enough people.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. But it was cool. Then, Bentaro comes, because they were like going to give up for the day, and like they were like, oh, we'll have to wait for the tide to come back in or something. And then Bentaro comes up and is like, hold my beer.
Basically, yeah.
And then he's like, all right, one more. Let's do one more. And then of course they, I guess, get it over the hump enough that it pulls out of the water enough that it's in the clear.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it was a cool moment.
It was.
But then he's like, looks over and you see Toranaga up on the cliff still, and they kind of look at each other, and then he looks off into the distance.
That was my last note. Was when Blackthorn looks at Toranaga gives him like the slight nod, and I was like, man, that's got to be like the highest praise of approval from anyone.
Yep.
Like in the whole realm, I feel like it's just, man, yeah, that was a good ending. And then just him then looking off,
and then the word Shogun.
Yes.
That's every. So was the other? There was the dialogue with him and the Yabashige when he talks about Idu and what it could become. And he wants a time of peace and prosperity and all that stuff. And he kind of speaks to that back when he was with Yabashige. And all this stuff is based on like historical, like actual things like that happened. And
well, we skipped a part about him, Toranaga, talking about where we actually see all the armies.
Oh, right. When he's describing what would happen. Yes.
That was the closest thing we got to the
battle.
But it's cool that he's basically saying like this could be, this could be a possibility. But then at the end he's talking about peace, and basically I'm assuming he's saying that instead of that battle, or is he talking about after that battle? I initially figured he meant
he's trying to avoid the battle, and then he wants a time of peace.
That's what I figured. Okay.
And then of course the next, so I was reading about this a little bit, and it's like they had it on the website, but like basically right after it's called the Edo period.
Yep.
Where they had, but which is also when the
Blue Eye
Samurai takes place, and so he became shogun and like was controlling it, but
so he did
well, the real character they loosely based Toranaga's, it's a different name, but the historical character he did. But he only was it for a few years, then he passed it on to his son and just kind of ruled from behind the scenes and let his son have the title. But then that's where the Edo period happened. They shut, and that's why there was like no other outsiders in for a long time.
Mm.
But then it also created a lot of innovation and prosperity and all these things that they did, because they couldn't trade with other, had to do everything inside, and it became the largest city in the world, Edo, which then eventually, basically when the one of the heirs eventually gave back control and like stepped down as shogun, is when then they turned that town and renamed it as Tokyo.
Okay.
And Tokyo still is one of the highest populated cities in the world.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. I mean, it's cool to really learn about history in a way from another country that, and do it from like almost feel like it's well done from their perspective, and not so much like,
yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, and not just like Americans' perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And we just get to see it through, the eyes of Blackthorn. Basically, is the surrogate for us.
Yeah. Blackthorn's definitely the audience. Yeah. I wonder in Tokyo. So we know that what's her name was starting the red light district.
Yeah.
So is that church still there, right next to it too?
I don't know if that's historically accurate or not, but yeah, that's
nice.
So, yeah. Other thoughts about the ending and
no, it's just like I'm gonna keep an eye out on these writers, see what they do next.
Yeah, for sure.
Because I mean, I haven't seen anything. I don't think they're planning on doing more, which is good because again, this is apparently the end of the book anyway. Don't want to diminish it in Golf Book and then it not be as good. So
yeah, and it's
also it's a good ending. It's like you don't need to.
Well, like you said, like the right lead into this with Blue Eye Samurai, jump to the next period, and
maybe they'll just do a live action version of that for the people that don't watch
anime. Be actually amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I would watch it. I mean, I still need to watch the other one, the actual animation.
Oh,
but like I'm saying, I would watch a live action. Yeah.
Did you watch any of it?
No, I haven't yet.
No. You should watch it now. Like just like, I almost want to rewatch it because it's like I have such a different understanding now of the history of
Probably
Japan.
will understand a lot more of it. Yeah.
And it's just fascinating then that yeah. But maybe I don't know. But there's so many things to watch.
Yeah, I know.
It is really good. I mean, it is really cinematically amazing. It's like, yeah.
You gotta watch a lot of Fallout first.
Yes, you do. Yeah. Any else? I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like it covered. It was a good ending and really strong ending and really a great way to end it. Even though we didn't get like really any battle or, of course, sad to see it end. But
yeah. Yeah, that's the only problem is that I want them to do more, but at the same time I don't because it won't be as good. Even with these good writers, it's like anytime you go past the book, it's just not the same.
Yep. For sure. Yeah. So, all right. Anything else?
No, I don't think so.
Just we'll see if it stays on the top 10 list at the end of the year, but
I don't see it not being on the top 10 somewhere.
Yeah, it's gonna
might even be number 1. There might not be something better in this, but we do have some good stuff coming. But
potential good stuff coming.
Yeah.
But probably an upcoming episode we'll do a anticipation for the second half of the year and
summer preview.
We'll talk about maybe some of the upcoming shows that might derail this as the top. Right now, this is number 1 for me.
Oh yeah, me too. For this year,
yeah, for the year, not overall.
Right,
though, still pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, with that, what did you guys think of Shogun the series? Write us, leave a comment, email us, feedback@screentimepod.com. Message us on Instagram, DM, follow us. I'm at J Youngbar.
I'm at Jered Youngbar.
And we'll discuss Fallout Season 1 next week.